Okay.
Hi, Nap.
Hello.
How are you guys?
We are doing well, and you?
Still alive.
See that? Are you having fun? It's awesome.
I know.
All right, I think Ruth was joining. I saw Ruth. Are you there yet? Let's see.
She's joining right now.
Okay. Okay. So while we are waiting Ruth to join in, that we start the meeting because she wanted to lead the first part of the agenda. Welcome everybody. I'm so happy that you are all here. It's exciting that we've got a date for our face-to-face meeting. That's so much exciting, and we are looking forward to that. Thank you all for your participation and cooperation to just get that date on the way. Thank you. That's awesome. Then, as you have joined, for you to hear me and to hear the interpreters, please go down to the bottom of the screen. You can see the globe symbol, and then click on that and join the English channel, please. Join the English channel. Yeah, join the English channel. After you have done that, Michael will join the Spanish channel. Then the next thing, while we wait, we are going to have one volunteer to please take down the attendance. So can anyone volunteer to take down the attendance for today's meeting? All you do is to go down to the bottom of the screen. You can see where it says participants. Currently, you can see there are 12 or so. You click on that participant, and then you will see the list of all the people on the right. They all come, they just write down their names. If somebody drops off during the course of the meeting and they rejoin, you just check to make sure you already got their name. You don't have to write their name twice. Can somebody volunteer to take the attendance for us for today's meeting? Or do we want to be volunteer? Waiting for a volunteer to write down the attendance, the names of people attending the meeting today, and then later I'll just share that with us. For record.
Nap, I can do it.
Thank you. So now we appreciate that. All right. So you know how to get that, right? The instruction is there. Go down to the bottom of the screen, the 12 participant there, click on participant, and you can see all the names of the attendees on the file, right? And write them out, and later on you can just send those out links. Thank you very much for doing that. We appreciate that. I can see that. Are you still, is it part, you see chewing your mouth? Is it from the enjoyment, from the food you didn't finish that? You guys brought it home and got to take away? We can't hear you, you're on mute.
I just ate some snack while waiting.
Okay. All right. Dr. Aditya, welcome. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. We are so happy to have the doctor in our midst. This is awesome. Terrific.
Thank you.
Good. Simon, welcome. Thank you very much. Gift, welcome. Welcome very much. We are so happy to have you here. Bertha, welcome. Yep. Deborah, welcome. So happy that we are here.
My Deborah, my girls.
Hey, Snack.
How are you? Your hair look amazing. So
Thank
cool.
you.
I see
Thank
you are
you.
out of like a Wakanda forever character.
Ruth,
What kind of-
Ruth is struggling with your microphone. Are you set now, Ruth? Do you want to go down the screen, the bottom of the screen, and select your channel? The globe symbol, you can say English channel or Spanish. Yeah, my one. Who want me face to face? You show us where you get your hair done normally. If you have a nice hairstyle, we might all go there and get our hairs done before we think. Okay, the issue is the microphone. All right. Let's see whether she wants us to start. Go ahead. The professional. Okay. All right. Okay, while we wait for Ruth to join, I think we have enough members here to start. We're just getting some from her to see whether we can go ahead and start with the other section of the agenda. And the agenda here. Okay, professional development. All right. Well, again, once more, you're welcome. I hope you all have joined the channel, the English channel, and we're all set to go. So there are 2 sessions today to this meeting as well. We have 1 hour to kind of talk, among ourselves and revisit the terms of reference we put together that has the vision and the roles and responsibilities of the members of the council, and then the structure of the council and the professional development piece of it. And then we'll have Florence join the last half of the meeting, which is 30 minutes remaining. She will join us, and then we can talk a little about the face-to-face meeting. Maybe some other information she may want to share with us. She will come in and do that. So, but for now, Ruth will be sharing. When she joins, she will go back. You all have already made inputs. Many of you have. She will go back to that document, and she shared the document with you all. She sent that to our emails, and we'd like also make sure we go through that again and see until we are still in the process of refining ourselves, refining who we are, because at some point, we still have quite a bit of work to do. Some of those things have to be done in face-to-face when we get there. So because we have to really look at that vision to make sure it's specific, then we have to look at the roles. From there, we develop some specific goals, tangible goals, like we know what we really want, where we want to go as a council. And then we have to think about how do we get there? That is a concrete action steps, a part of goal development. How do we get there? I have to break it down into 30 days, 60 days, 365 days plan, so that we know what can we done this month, what can we done in 30 days, in 60 days, and 365 days, because so that we can really see that we are adding value. We can see we're being productive. We do that. I think that's what we'll do. If we cause us to stand in front of the flip chart and do that together in person, I think we'll get to that point. And then we'll have some date line attached to all of that. And then the outcome, how do we know we have achieved the result? How do we know we are there where we wanted to be? So all of that, we'll be able to do that together, but we cannot get to that until we're able to refine the vision a little bit and the roles a little bit, so that it's a little bit broader. We are making real impact. It's not only about us, but how are we helping others that we think we want to help, and how can we be recognized globally? So there are some of those things we'll have to talk about a little bit at some point. So for now, I have Margaret's on the call. Margaret, will you please put in the link for the Jamboard? What we are going to do now, thank you. What we are going to do this first half is we all have requested 1 professional development. So we kind of think about what do we mean professional development? Which areas do we want to be developed professionally? What are those areas we want to be our capacity in? So you don't have to write a complete sentences again. All you need to do maybe write just the area, like really becoming computer literate or computer literacy or this or that. Which areas? So if you click on the link Margot has put in the chat box, it will take you to the Jamboard and already designed for you. The work is cut out for you a little bit. So all we need to do, of course, you go to the top, that's one of 6 pages. So you go to the hierarchy, there you can see what areas of professional development will you be interested in. So you really write down the area you think you'll be interested in. And then another video, I'm going to streamline this to see how many do we have. And then we can come up with areas that we think, let's prioritize now. Let's take out the top 2 or the top 5 that we think we want it to be funded or want to find somebody to help us in those areas. Does that make sense? Does anybody have a question, or we all know what we're doing already? Okay. Good. Thank you, Bertha. Okay. Good.
Fine, thank you. How are you all doing?
Yeah, currently on page 1. It doesn't matter if you can go to page 2, just right wherever you see empty yellow spot there. Margot has already set it up that way, so you can write as many as you want. I mean, many professional development areas you're interested in.
Nap, can we move forward after this Jamboard, or are we? I mean, do we need to wait for some time?
Let's. Are we done with the Jamboard yet? I mean, I'm texting Ruth. She's still trying to figure out how. There's the next. yeah, we can move forward. We can discuss this a little bit, and hopefully it should be there before we have 1 hour from 9 to 10 to finish our first session. So the other session of this meeting is just for you to talk about the in terms of preference. We have already put together and go over that document and see whether we can start looking at it. So she was going to lead that discussion before we bring in Florence. But let's see how far we've gone with the Jamboard. Then we all can make a decision. If Ruth is still able to join, we can make a decision as to whether we want to move on to the next agenda item.
Hi, Nabs. I have
Oh,
had
there
my
you are.
comments sorted. Thank you.
Perfecto. Okay, excelente. Welcome. Thank you. All right. So how we do with the Jamboard? Since people have put
Think,
quite.
Nab, correct me. There is a 6 slide in the Jamboard, and all
Yeah.
these slides are same. I mean, the question are the same, right?
Yeah. The questions are the same. We are thinking people have many ideas. So that if you feed the first page, the first slide, you can go to the second slide. Yeah. But if you don't have many, if we can only use the first slide, it's great. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Atia. That's well, I see on the first slide. I saw somebody wrote something on the second slide. Social entrepreneurship. Yeah, that's good. So the third slide, rather. And the second slide, we've got some things on there. The second slide and the third slide, yeah. Okay. Okay. Social entrepreneurship. Okay. All right. So I think we can take it from no, I'm on mute. All right. I think we can. So far, we have gotten some response from people. Let's see. Okay. So now, what we are going to do before we have Ruth join to take the second half of this meeting. Now we've written down some points. So let's take a look at what we have so far. I think what they want us to do, what BCN, USA, and Make It Sense, they are going to fund some part of it. They want to make sure we select at least one now, because it's a little bit urgent. They have money for that now. And then because of the timeline, I think the timeline was supposed to be within the next, Ruth, do you have a timeline for when the first professional development will start?
No,
Or very soon,
I
right?
don't.
Yeah. Okay, but very soon, I think, right?
Yes, I think from what Florence was mentioning yesterday was that it's important that they do that immediately.
Okay.
So we at least provide one, and then you can
Okay.
figure out
Okay.
the rest.
So far, we have proposal writing and development, advocacy and research, content creation and fundraising, mental health and psychosocial support, documentation and report writing of the case stories and the impact of positive and challenging stories. Okay, successful goal setting, USA programs for alternative care and funding cycle. Okay, we have proposal writing for grants, social policy analysis, finding comfort in public speaking and confidence. Okay, yep, conflict management and project management. Okay, human rights is down here. Bring it down. I'll bring it here. All right. So I think we have these already. Which one stands out, and how do we narrow down to one for now? Okay. Okay, people are still typing. Ruth?
Let me go first. Nabs, thank you so much, everyone, and apologies for the issues I had. From what I can see here, I would first say for us to just figure out how to narrow down to one. I think my personal opinion would be that we need to check something that we cannot find it anywhere else, or that, you know, it's more, so I'll take like one. If we say goal setting, if we say we need training on goal setting, I mean, that is something that we can, it's not a bit specific, but we can get this training anywhere, even online, you know, even within ourselves. I know there are people here in their organizations, they do this, that is something we can get. USAID programs, if we say we need development on that, I'm just picking a few. So if we say that, I think we can Google that and we can find that online. So from my perspective, I would say when we are looking for, because this is a big opportunity in my own understanding, we just need to get something a bit technical that we know that will build our capacity to carry forward even after this program. Yeah. So we're not only going to use it here, but you know, it's going to expand our capacity to serve elsewhere. Yeah, that's another example is, and I'm picking randomly, honestly, I don't know, like finding comfort in public speaking. Those things we can get them, even like there are media enterprises that offer that, and they're online, and they are things that you can just pick. But there are other things that might require a technical expert to break that down, you know, and maybe the doctors in this room, like Dr. Aditya, you know. So something that we would need an expert to literally support us in that knowledge somehow. But yeah, that's how I would look like. And making sense, I know, you know, they're a big organization. We don't want to go to them and say, please help us set goals. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody, does anybody have another input? How do we want to narrow this down? Thank you, Ruth, for your input.
Hey,
Nabs,
Nab.
there are two people with their hands up. Just
Oh, sorry.
Bertha and Elvis.
Okay, Bertha, you go first. Elvis after Bertha, please. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Nabs. I will suggest that we go for proposal writing since it appears 3 times. And again, the other reason why I will suggest we go for it is because once we learn how to do proposals for grants, that can also help us raise funds as a council, and therefore we can also look for donors on our own and ensure that the council stands alone, like we can raise funds on our own. And considering that this is a new year, if we get to know about it in the first quarter of the year, then probably come November or even August, then we can be able to develop a proposal or get funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Bertha. That's all. Elvis?
Yeah, I was proposing. Yeah, I was proposing mental health and psychosocial support because at the level of Africa, you know, we're still recovering from lots of crises. If we look at sub-Saharan Africa, if we look at East Africa, we have lots and lots of crises, or people recovering from crisis, and we have mental health and psychosocial support requires a lot of expertise. So like Ruth was talking about an area where we really need expertise care, I feel mental health and psychosocial support would be one area where we really need a lot of capacity building in it. My humble opinion. Over.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
Nabs, I have a question.
Narrow that, yes.
Is our suggestions, are they linked to the goal of the council? Because if they are linked to the council, I'll pick one. When I was talking about some of the things we want to achieve, research, advocacy, policy change came across many times. People had suggested that we would want to influence policy. And I would, for example, if I was to pick one here, if I picked on social policy, I would say there's something that links to some of the goal that someone stated or a lot of people felt that they need. So my question is, are the professional development courses that we are looking for, are they linked to building the capacity to achieve the goals we want as a council and what we said the goal of the council would be?
Well, according to
Yeah, it's a
Flo-
question. It seems like an answer.
Yeah, I think I asked that question yesterday. If you remember, Florence saying it could be that something that can enhance us to become more useful in the council or to move the council forward, or it could also be useful to just your own professional, just develop yourself personally and professionally in your own area. You might leave the council, but we all have gotten that skill to go back and implement that in our organization, start organization and do something. So I would say yes or no, it doesn't relate. It just developing us professionally to be, because we say we are professional people. We are, so I think we just have to make sure we enhance our skills and ability to do more. Yeah, so I think that's it. It's not specifically tied to the council that whatever we select must go. But if we do something that we think it can be more useful to the council, I think that's a bonus. Should be more advantageous to us. But again, I know whatever skill you learn, you are going to use it forever. It's not going to be only for this council, and you can use it on your own. So I think, yeah, Ruth, I know that's not a direct answer, but that's Ruth. Florence never gave us a direct answer about that when I asked that question. She said it to be for both purposes, anyways. So I think we have like 2 minutes more before we have to go to the next agenda item. So now what we're going to do, I think we're going to compile these lists again and then put it in the chat at some point in group, and we have people to just vote on which one they want, and then we can see how many votes we get on each area. Then we see where we'll try to eliminate as much as possible, do process elimination, things that we know these are very generic, like goal setting. We have people among who have skills in that, they do goal setting and kind of things like that, part of their job, that's their job. We can say, okay, that's a little bit more generic. We're not really going to get big knowledge in that, really make use of make it send help from us. So what are those areas that we really think stand out to be number 1, number 2, number 3, and then we'll narrow that again, just what we did, let's go with the date selection. And then we have opportunity to do more. Just now, because the time is sensitive, we want to at least for us to start 1. And then what will be the second priority? We can go to that again, and 3rd and 4th and 5th. We keep going, but for now we have to just select 1. What do we think we need the most at this present time? So that's what we're going to decide on at some point. So I think that's what I'm thinking, and the group that's what I'm thinking, instead of, because we still have not come to a decision yet to say which one can we present to them to say, hey, this is the area we want now. So maybe which one now we can pick, let's say 3, according to what Ruth is saying. Ruth, what are the top 3? Ruth, okay, Ruth, what are your top 3?
My top 3 is social policy analysis.
Okay.
The human rights mechanisms, both regional and international, and how they link to care experienced people.
Okay, next.
And my third one is, if we understand human rights, we understand social policy, we'll need funding. So I will pick proposal writing to support, to build the knowledge to look for funds to do that.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. So everyone, can we go into the chat right now? Just write your top 3 in the chat so I can make a comparison. Just please put your top 3 in the chat. That way, so that we know how many top 3s appear, and then we can go to narrow that from there. Later on, I can put together and share with everyone. Dr. Aditya, do you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I feel that, I mean, this space, I mean, whatever we have been using, those who are making like, facilitation or facilitating the session, I just have one request that if you can also give some directive questions or give some, input so that people can do some brainstorming as well. I mean, like, for me, it is getting a little bit confusing because here the question which asks, what areas of professional development would you be interested in? So it's getting a sense of two-way. Like either like which you have built your professional skill and you want to be contribute for the council, that is one. And second, another way, it is what you want to learn. So in that direction, some may be like going here and there. So if you can help us to give some clarity on that and also give some directive, question or some ideas. So it will be more, because I still feel that there should have more participant has to come, and the people should, give more insight. And secondly, my point is that are we looking for just particular council related work, or really as a care lever as a community for professionally developed, or certain, like, maybe for someone maybe interest area is like policy and changes in the research and academia, but some might be like I have found that some people, I mean some our care leader, they're talking about a mental health issue, they want to highlight that. I mean that can be also addressed in the policy level, but what are the priority we are defining? So can we also set some direction on that, where we can also address equally each and everyone's comment or feedback? That is my suggestion. Yeah.
All righty. Well, thank you. Thank you, Aditya, for your contribution. Do you want to volunteer to lead that aspect? To bring clarity to that it's easy that way. Do you want to volunteer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also like learning in this yeah, but I was reflecting upon my those days when I used to do certain exercise on this, especially on our SWOT analysis, or kind of visioning the future, or our leadership, etc. So in that we used to have a lot of exercise, because this thing will come when we have a rigorous minutely some activities, because it is, I mean, it's very easy to share and say something like very fancy word, but are we really internalized with that? That's really important. And then when it is internalized, then automatically it will come into an action. Otherwise it will be just a discussion. I mean that's my strong opinion. Otherwise we can have a, I mean this thing. But yeah, I appreciate that this can be initiated, but it should be more internalized. This is what I feel. So
Okay.
if yeah, if you can allow me, so I can give some I mean input in that. But if time being, I mean time limit is also there, so I had to pause here. Thank
Time
you.
limit. Yeah. Thank you, Aditya. So we have some suggestions in the. I said let's list our top 3 for now. This is something we'll have to find a better way to make sure we narrow it down to 1. So let's, everybody, if you can do that, select 3 you think you are most interested, that you think our professional development will be interested in, so that we can narrow something down quick. If you put that in, Sinead, I know you've taken attendance. Also, don't forget, I don't know what I reminded you to please also take notes of what the suggestions people are putting in the box.
Nab, I didn't take note at all. I only take attendance list. I'm sorry, I didn't know it.
No worries, that's all good. We can do that. It's not
Nabs,
late.
we have copy of the meeting chat once this
Perfect.
is over.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So Sinead, no worry. Don't need to take notes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay. So I think please do your own selection. Just top three that occur to you to think, okay, I think if I'm going to select, I'll select this 1, 2, 3. That's it. And just put them in that order. And we can move from there later. Ruth, I'm going to hand this over to you for you to start talking about the other part. If we are ready for us to move into the next session for now, we will wrap this up later before we can make a presentation to the rest of the team.
Thank you so much, Nabs, and everyone. I must admit that the plan was to share a PowerPoint presentation, which we already have anyway. So we are going to discuss 3 parts, and I will not because of the technical issues with my machine on this end. And I had power issues. I should have shared that before. So we are going to, I don't know how many received my communication yesterday and how many have had a chance to look at at that document, but there are 3 things that we need to discuss. We have already discussed proposal writing. We are yet to discuss the structure and the eligibility of the council. If I don't know, we can brainstorm. Nabs, should we? How
Yeah,
do we get to see the structure?
yeah, maybe we can have the document is there somewhere. That if you can share your PowerPoint now because of the technical difficulty. That's what, if can we have the link in the chat again, we can open that document and be in there. You send the Word document to Margaret, right?
I sent it to the platform.
Okay.
I uploaded that.
Give me 1 second, Ruth. I'll grab it and share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Sure.
So yeah, meanwhile, please be putting some stuff in the chat so that it's easy for us to make decisions.
So we are going to look at the structure as the second discussion or the second agenda. And the structure is, how do we want the council to look like? There were several issues that were raised, and from what we did last time, I know some of the conversations some of the things that we said is that there has to be representation. There has to be, and representation is, global. If we're a global council, how do we make sure that the council, when anyone looks at it, they will say we are a global representation? Now, 2, that it's legitimate. 3, there's a mandate. Issues of mandate came up. That do we have the mandate to represent our other care experience people? So when we are thinking about a structure, then we need to think in that line, that which one looks like, which one looks like it ticks those things. So I would say, let me just share one of the slides from last time, if you're able to see this, as Margot is trying to get the rest. If you're able to see this, let me know. Are you able to see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
It has to be legitimate, representative, independent, democratic, competent, and quality over quantity. Now, allow me to say that because we are building a structure right now, we are transitioning. My understanding is that this is a transitioning team. We have an opportunity to build a new house, and I want to use the words I used the other time, that we have an opportunity to build a new house or renovate the existing house. What does that mean? That the way the council was or has been, and I'm saying was because I think the term first, we were on a period of 2 years, and that ended last year. We have an opportunity to say, do we want to remain like that? Are there changes that we want to make? And if there are changes that we want to make to reflect legitimacy, to reflect global representation, to reflect independence, democracy, competence, and quality. So what do we do? So yesterday we had a conversation when we were preparing for this meeting as the co-facilitators. So that is only the sole point of that meeting was to plan for today, and we did sought clarification around some of these things. How can we ensure that we can tick what we all think? So we all proposed some bits of structures, and if Margot has been able to access that, I would stop sharing this one, and then we can look at a few of the structures that we all proposed. Margot, do you have that with you?
Hi, Ruth.
Okay.
I have the same PowerPoint that you have right there. Are you referring to a different one? This is the only one I have as well.
For the Word document, do you have a Word document she sent?
I do not.
Okay.
You could send that to me. I can pull that. I can pull that up.
Yeah, Nabs, if you're able to forward, you can as I proceed with this. So,
sure, okay.
So my point was, if we are building a structure, the structure needs to look like this. So the way we are the council right now, can we say that it's okay? There's one point that is missing, which is inclusive. Can we say the council is inclusive? Can we say the council is representative? Can we say the council is independent? Because all these points we are the ones who came up with this. Is it competent? Or do we have quality over quantity? And one person said that we have to be a council with the people, for the people, by the people, and of the people. And for me, that was such a highlight, because if we are doing with the people, for the people, by the people, there is a buy-in, and it's a question of mandate that Simon had asked quite some time back. So with that in mind, do we want now to build that? So I would just say I want to first shut up and give you guys a chance to speak and respond to that. Because we are building from where we are. Where we are is right now. We have a council, we have something. Does it tick these boxes? And if it doesn't, what do we think we need to do? Because terms of reference means that what we are building now, or the kind of work we are doing, and the document we are developing, it means that we are going to vet even the current council. We are going to use that to vet ourselves, right? So yeah, I would want to first stop at that and give people a chance to respond. Yes, Simon.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much, Ruben, and everyone who is with us today. My thinking would be, we have those, I think there were 3 or 4 proposals that were in the document sent. So maybe what I would suggest we do about them is, these are proposals that were done by some of us, not by us, not some of us. So if we went from proposal number 1, let the person who proposed that tell us what it is, then we'll interrogate that, give each of those options a couple of minutes, let the person explain what they thought, thinking about their proposal. Let the members think through the pros and the cons of it, and then give each a few minutes. Once we are done, we should be able to make a decision which fits the criteria that we are looking for.
What do you guys think about that? So let me, okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So the structure is up there. Did we all hear what Simon said? So Simon said we go through each of these, and the person who did that. So structure 1, so there's what I just explained in the previous PowerPoint was about it has to be global, legitimate, representative, independent, democratic, competent, quality over quantity. So I am going to comment on that because my proposal was also inclined to that. These came same as proposal 4, which you're going to see. But this is the regions. These are the regions here. So there's the 3 regions in Africa. For example, so Africa has 54 or 55 countries. My African brothers, please don't allow me to be embarrassed. So, but we are divided in 3 regions. So there's the East and Southern Africa region. The assumption is that we can have a representative from that. And then the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa, we can have a representation from that. And the West Africa, what do we call the other region in the Western Africa? So we have, because a continent with 54 countries is such a massive continent. So those are 3 regions in Asia, 2 regions in Europe, one region in America, then regions in Australia. This doesn't have to be three regions. We can say we need a representation from Australia. So this ticks the global representation, because that is a global, it covers the world. Now, the council needs to have a leadership. So the leadership is out of these 12 members, because this is 3-3-3-3. Yes, it's a 12-member council. Out of those 12, 2 of those should be appointed in whatever way we decide to be leaders, because this council needs leadership. And for me, my belief is that the strength of any entity is their leadership, is the strength of the leadership. So out of the 12, 2 of them should be executives and 2 to lead the 10 members. They are all members of the council, but 2 of those will be appointed to be whatever we want to call them. Is it an executive director? Is it a CEO? Whatever names. So these maps just represent that. So it means the council is 12. But now the question is, if the membership is 12, yeah, so let me first shut up for people to respond. I don't know whether we should go to the next one and the next one, or we need to critique structure by structure. Guys, please, you need to speak.
Simon has his hand, right?
Okay,
Yep.
Simon.
I'm just wondering about the region. For example, we have America and Australia. And the question that I would ask you in terms of the care reform agenda and the way it's structured, do you think, for example, America and Australia are relevant in terms of as is understood to be?
Good question, Simon. And I think you can come closer to your microphone. Yes. So let me respond to that. That is a good question. And at a personal level, I have also struggled with the same. So I would say when we are looking at how to look for these, we need, on top of the global legitimate representative, I think we need to add something about regions that have, they are pushing the care reform agenda. Like probably we need to use that as well. So that we are able to say we cannot go to this continent or this region because there is none of care reforms that is happening in those regions. I don't know what others think.
Ruth, there's a comment from Bertha in the chat.
Thank you, Margot. Bertha is asking a question, please. If we are going to use the document to then the current members of the council, does this mean that the council is not in existence as of now? Please clarify. Thank you, Bertha. So my response to that, and Nabs, I think you'll come in. We did sort to also get a bit of an understanding. I think this is something that has come up with members asking, is the council's term still on or not? Because that lapsed last year and we are still doing some work. So what BCN explained, and I know Florence probably will need to explain that more when she comes in, is that there are 2 ways. The council right now, we are developing the terms of reference, which should be used to inform the current council. So that is why we need to, we don't even have a contract, guys. So what the terms of reference we are developing should inform that. So the work we are doing right now, yes, we are doing that, but we need to complete the terms of reference. However, she said that the council is on and could run for another period, but it has to be representative. The way we are now, we are 16 members, it is not representative. And we have to decide how to make it representative. Now, BCN has a funding to support a 12-member council. And Nabs, you'll correct me when you come in. BCN has funding to support a council because we have to cut it down to 12. But her explanation was, on an event that we feel the council should remain with 16 members, it is possible for BCN to get additional funding on a condition that it's going to be representative and inclusive. So what does that mean and how do we get there? We are 16 of us, and we probably are looking for 12. If we settle for 12, how do we come down to that? If we feel like we want it to remain a 16-member council, it can, but there's a condition with that funding. It has to be representative. And one of the examples she gave was that there are countries that are overrepresented. Yeah, like Kenya is over represented. We have, I think, how many members from Kenya? And there are other regions that have, they are less represented. So how does it mean? Does it mean that we have to your guess is as good as mine. If we have to keep 16, it means that we have to see how the number comes down to 12, and then we can bring new members to fill the 4, but they have to be inclusive. Like, for example, we did mention that there is not a person with lived experience. How will that be taken care of? We did say about many other things. So yeah, that's what I would say. The council's membership is 16 now. It can remain 16 on a condition that it's representative. And that representation means, does it mean bringing new people and adding them to this? But how do we come down to that number? Yeah, and I know that's a huge debate. So over to you, and thanks, Bertha, for that question. Is it clear with everyone? Nabs, I want you to come in and please just comment something, because I was with you in that meeting.
The council still stands. The council is still in existence, and we are. Florence confirmed that when she joins the call in the next, maybe 7 minutes, we will see her ask that question again so that she can confirm that the council still is existence. As Ruth rightly said, 16 members right now. Cut that down to 12. I thought initially she said 14 or so, but yeah. So, but decide on the name of the we are focusing on the composition, as we already said, and the functionality of the council, members who can participate, who can how can become useful on the council, all of us as a council, as individuals, and then the composition, as well as said, regionalized, the kind of thing like that. We don't have that many people from Asia. We don't have that many people from, maybe other parts of the African regions. I think the number should be 14, like what you were saying. So if there are 16, she said we can maintain the 16 for that they have funding for what they have 12, but we can maintain 16 if we prove, if we're able to go with here and make sure the council become a little bit more diverse, and then we're able to make sure the council become more useful. Individuals are really doing what they need to do, and we can start seeing our impact there. They might be able to raise money to continue to support the 16 members, but ideally, we have to cut it down to 14, because at least at some point. So that's something that the issue we might not make that today. Maybe that's one of the agenda items we want to discuss during the face-to-face meeting, and really be very radically honest and cooperative together in person and talk about, what, here's how we're going to cut this down, or we think we all can make that work. Again, we can. There are suggestions. We have some suggestions we can all run by you guys at some point. Think about every year there's 5 new members on the council, and maybe 5 existing members who already have experience on the council. Later on, we can switch them. We have 5 new members. Also, people can sit down for 1 year. They come back again next time. So we have options. So we are going to float those options at some point. We are leaders. I'm sure we can make this happen. We only have to be able to think a little bit out of the box and see how can we make this work, because we know we all want to make an impact. We all want to be heard and create an influence. So, but with the number, we want to make sure we are all heavily represented. If we want to call this a global council, a global representation, we cannot call it right now the way it is, because we are not globally represented at all.
Nabs, you've got Simon and then Sinette.
Yeah, okay. Simon, please go, and after that, Sinette, you can go. Good, sorry about that. You can take over after that.
Yeah,
and thanks, Nabs, for clarifying about the numbers. Sorry, Simon.
Yeah, I think what we are talking about here, the issue is not the number or how big the council will be. That is not the issue. I think the issue here is representative.
Yeah.
Even if we maintain the same, I think maintaining the same number is easy, but the point here that is being put across is that the council is not representative as it is now. So whatever the case, whatever needs to be taken care of is representation. And I think that the implication of that, the practical implication of that, is that some of us will have to leave.
Simon, sorry to interrupt you. Can you please use the proper microphone? Simon, I'm not hearing you at all.
Okay, Aditya, let me see what I can do. But what I'm saying is the bare truth is for that for representation to happen, some of us will somehow have to give way for others. I think we need to be clear about that, right? Or am I wrong?
Is that
didn't hear you
directed
well
to
too.
Simon? Okay, let me repeat what Simon said because I heard it. Simon says that the issue here is not the numbers. The issue is representation. The number can remain the same, but is it representative? So Simon says he thinks that whatever has to be done, because the council is not representative as we are now, some of us have to leave at some point for the council to be representative. And so he's asking, is that correct? What do you guys think? I would assume that's a question for all of us. By my understanding from Florence, and we hope she's going to clarify that, is that I think we have to, I don't know, Nabs, what do you think was? Some of us have to leave?
Yeah. Wait.
Okay.
Wait, you think Simon's part is, Simon was talking about the issue is not with the, I didn't also hear because it was coming muffly a little bit. The issue is not with the number, but the representation, right?
Yes, because for example, we are 16 of us,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But we have like 5 people coming from one country. That
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
5 people coming from one country and 1 person coming, or 2 people coming from an entire continent.
Yeah. That is the main issue. That is the main issue. Even though we talk about the functionality of individuals, because we also noticed that they also noticed that last year not many of us participated in any of the meetings. I mean, we all know that. So they want to make sure people are participating, people when people are corporate, in the chat and responding to emails and be part of it. Because when we sign those agreements, those are part of the things they have to look at. Because we want to make sure when you cancel, you are functional. So I told Florence that is not yes in our meeting. I told her that will not be a problem because once we have the vision, we develop that into specific goals, and we know who is responsible for something, for action, who's accountable. We can make sure people become very functional because when people know exactly what to do and what to do and how to do it, they can do it. But now it's because the group and the leadership is still not really direct. It's hard for people to know, okay, am I doing this or is she doing it or is he? So it's not really like ownership is not there. But once we create that, I think we can do that. We can make sure everybody is really doing their work. So that's sort of a big problem there. The big problem is the representation. As you said, Simon, you're right. That's something we have to work over. We have to be able to work with and fix that. But and honestly, working with that, we cannot add the representation is that we cannot add new members. For now, we have 16. 16 should be the maximum. And if we want to really do this representation and share, people might have to drop at some point because we cannot take new members. We cannot have people with disabilities on the council. If we add anybody with disability to make it more diverse and representative, we have to drop somebody or existing already. That's just a reality check. If we want to add somebody from another region, we have to drop some other person from a region that is heavily represented right now because we cannot increase the number. But we need to add people who are not already in council who to represent other regions as well as disability as well. So the radical truth is that whatever we do, we may want to either drop people at some point or see how we can just make it a little bit diverse and representative. Sinet, do you want to talk? I see your hands up.
Yes. I think I'm not sure if I am the one, but I know in myself that I have a language barrier. I mean, I am behind you guys. Like I don't speak English well the way I understand. But it doesn't mean I don't want to participate in this. I really want to. But when I try to catch up with this slide, talking about the like how many members are going to remain in the council, to me it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean that I want to be a part in this in a way that I can represent from Cambodia, but it doesn't mean that I want to be in this a group of people. I mean, no, in this group forever. No, I don't want to. I'm thinking about what Nab saying, that I'm willing to leave. I mean, I'm willing to leave if that we can invite people who can more like represent more, like disability people, or people you don't have more special, that they can represent all of us. Okay, so what should I say more? But right now we are not ready to be a represent at all.
Yeah. Sine, you're
Yes,
great.
but-
Thank you.
Yes, but I mean, right now we can build this together, like willingly build this together and get ready for the next generation to come to be represented. Like I mean, in a few more years, and we don't need to be in that time. You know what I mean? We can live.
Yeah, you're great. You're great. That's awesome. That's what I'm saying. We have various options. So we have options. We have options to how we can do this. We can overcome this, and we just have to see how we can suggest some options and see. This is why in-person meeting is very, very important. And we can have like option A, B, and C, and say this is one option to say, you know, this is already existing. The council started this way with no diversity, no composition. So now, do we need to extend a grace period for this year and be able to make sure we build this up for the next generation people coming to enjoy this? So that that's one option. The other option could be on Saturday's council walls. We are going to make sure all those who applied, we are not fortunate to be on the council. We are still going to be able to, how can we meaningfully involve them? And we want to start going to national levels. We are all representing different countries. Can we have other people on this council who can go back and be representing those countries, and the people can help them serve on that country with the people locally to engage in more advocacy work at local level, and those things. That can be part of connecting liaisons between the council members and the local members. So there are ways, you know, leaders, we anticipate problems and we develop solutions before problems come. So I think we can do this together. We are not trying to kick anybody out now. We don't kick ourselves out for now. We are all very useful. We are playing a role. This was how it all started. So I think we can make this work, Sine. But thank you for your contribution.
Got it.
Ruth, you said we have 5 minutes, or we need to call in Florence now. This is something we are not expecting to make a decision here today. Just for us to be aware, so start thinking about what are those options, what are those where we can make this work. So you're all smart. We all can think about that now, as you know, eventually later on as it pass by, or maybe we could do this, or maybe we could do it that way, and see what it's a way that can work for all of us.
Yeah. And that is what I wanted to come in and say, Nabs. Thank you so much. There isn't anyone we're not trying to kick anybody out.
We don't have that right, in fact.
Yeah, it's and this is all of us. It's for us to see, discuss, ask what is best for the continent and for the people we want to work, you know, amplify their voices. But also there's something he said that we are not looking for answers today. It's a discussion that we need to have, and it has to be at the back of our mind. So we might not go to the other one because of time. And I see there's someone who had suggested that this requires a lot more time than 1 hour. We agree, but we really appreciate the opportunity to meet face to face to keep brainstorming more. So allow me to allow Florence to come in. We have eaten into her 6 minutes. Thank you so much, Florence, and you're welcome. You probably will also be able to respond to some of the issues you probably picked, especially the last speaker. Thank you again to BCN and Margot for the reason, for the opportunity to be here, and for our amazing interpreters. In terms of language, I think CNET, it would be important to make sure that when, I am not sure whether I got your point correctly, but if language is a limit, I would want to add that when this opportunity was advertised, there was a point about English speakers, and we have all said that was not the correct way to have a global council where we are looking for English speakers. So yes, we one of the ways to make people inclusive beyond physical, it has to be also language inclusion. And we have tried as much as possible to do this. So if there are language needs as we proceed, I think it's important that we are able to write that down. If I am from Cambodia and I speak, I don't know whether that's the right pronunciation, Khmer or something, we need to say, I am a person speaking in this language, and we are going to provide that support. If I am a Swahili speaker, I need to say that, and I should be supported, because otherwise, if we leave people behind on the basis of languages, then the most important voices are left behind. So thank you for raising that up, and we hope that together we are going to develop a council that takes care of all those needs. Thank you again, and welcome, Florence.
Welcome, everybody. Sorry, I popped in and can see that you've been having some great conversation. So first of all, hello. I hope everybody's well, and the first hour was helpful. But I also see that Michael had his hand up. So please, if there are further discussions on, go ahead. I'm not here to stop you. It's just for me to come in and see whether there's things that you'd like to discuss. Michael, did you want to come in? I thought you had your hand up.
I don't think Michael's on the call, Florence.
Oh, is it not?
No.
Somebody had their hand up.
It was Sinette, and she was the last speaker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just saw I saw a hand. So yes, I guess my coming in is to just hear from you what you've been discussing, but also whether there are a couple of things that I think would be good to discuss, or at least to begin to discuss, in terms of, we now finally have a date on our face-to-face meeting. So just if there are any issues, well, I mean, there are the issue of how we're going to move forward on developing the agenda for a start. But I just wanted to check in terms of your discussion whether you had any question for us, anything. I certainly, I just reacted to Ruth's very important comment. I 100% agree. Language is never and should never be a reason for someone not participating. If they're the right person, Sinette, you're the right person. And so I apologize if we didn't provide you the support that you needed, but we can definitely work with you and make sure that you've got that support. English is not a requirement of any kind, and it would be exclusionary to do that. So we will always look for ways of making sure you're able to participate. So first of all, are there anything that came out of this discussion that that you would like to raise with BCN?
Well, I'll just give you a quick rundown of what the first section we led. We started with the professional development piece, and great answers came up, great suggestions, and they're in the chat box and on the Jamboard as well. So we are trying to narrow down to 3 top, then we can take it up from there. We kind of explained to the council that yes, we need to at least get 1 for now and present that to you, and then we can play with the rest later on. So people have put in the chat like what their top 3 are, and then we're going to, from that top 3, I'm seeing a lot of similarities, so we can be able to, I'm sure we can get 1 from that at the end of the day, and then we can send that to you. For now, this is the area people want to go. We're trying to narrow to make sure people, there are some of those areas that we can easily do. There are some of the areas that is really technical, that maybe BCN can help us get somebody really a real expert in that area. There are some areas who don't need to hire an expert. We, among ourselves, we can do that. We can learn something or something else. So that helps us to narrow things a little bit. So we'll be able to summarize that and give you hopefully an answer with in terms of priority. And then you say, okay, this is the top 1 for now, we're all interested in, and next we can think about this. So that will work out. And then Ruth join in. She can give you a rundown of the council, the TOR we're talking about. We didn't talk much about we didn't talk anything about the planning, face-to-face planning meeting. We only talk about the terms of preference, the document there as well as, and the professional development. So yeah, that's the update on the professional development. Ruth, Can you share some highlights?
I think for me is either action points or maybe BCN to respond. And for you, Florence, I think it's just a session that you just came in as we were wrapping up. And I think it would be important for you to clarify the status of the council. And now, there's the feeling we are here, but what is the status of the council? And I know this question probably has come out on other meetings, but maybe asked differently. So what does it mean for the members, and for what period of time? And then what is the connection between the council now and the TOR that we are developing? Yeah, that is what I would be important to mention. Also, the question of representation that we all have, been raising, the representation of the council, how big or small. But someone said, I don't think the issue is the size, but the issue is representation. So how big or small, which we also know that there is funding that, is dependent on funding and so many other things, but representation is important. The last one is we take cognizance of where we are now. So we are building from where we are now. So to make the council more representative, legitimate, independent, and all the points that we raised, how do we move from that to where we want to be, taking into consideration that this has a financial implication? Thank you, and over.
Thank you, Ruth. These are all really great questions. So in terms of the council, and I will try to answer some of them, and we can talk about those who I may not have an answer to, and you will hopefully have an answer to. In terms of the council status, the council, you are the council. The council is very much alive, and it is in a process of transition. This is what you've been doing, and it's quite complex to move from a model where you were set up with a very clear agenda by a donor, USAID, for the purpose of advising that donor, to now moving to a council that has its own identity, that can influence not just USAID is still supporting, but it's not just USAID, it's others as well. And there will be other donors as well as other programmatic organizations and so on that will be interested in working with you. And you will be interested in working with them. So right now, the council is very much alive. You are the council. You're in a process of transition, and your hard job is to determine how do you build on where you've been, on where you are, and also where you're thinking you want to be heading, to both having a vision, let's say, for the council for this year, and then a vision for the longer term, which is going to require some steps. So my understanding, and to clarify, the council members at the current moment are you. You're going to come to the face-to-face meeting. This is going to be an opportunity for you to pursue some of these further conversation about the, the next steps for the council, the vision for the longer term, etc. And how do you want to get there? What will it take? What are the steps, the hows, the who? But right now you are the council. The good question, if I can go to that final one in some ways, is how do you kind of become representative in some ways, or how do you enable that? Well, I mean, I think you've already had some in-depth discussion around that. As you transition, one of the big questions will be, is the current representation sufficient to enable to determine what the longer term future of the council would be? In other words, the way you were selected and the representation as it is right now, you yourself identified that there are no person bringing in the lived experience of disability. So, you would be speaking at the council making decision. You've got to be mindful of the fact that you are not currently as representative as you could be, and you've identified that yourself. So that's one thing to think about. And there might be ways of addressing that by bringing in maybe one or two members, additional members in this transition phase, to represent either experiences or geography, perspective, context that are not represented now. But one thing that's going to need to be addressed is the council right now is overrepresented in some regard by for some countries. So it is not a question of 16 and we're just going to add more people for this transition period. I'm talking about the transition period. It's going to have to be definitely addressed in terms of potentially adding a couple of members that bring perspective that are not represented, but it also will mean reducing the numbers of current members that are overrepresented in the current. And I know this is difficult, but it's, you know, there are both financial and also legitimacy issue to address in terms of how this council is going to be making decision. You've highlighted very clearly that you want to be linked, you want to be a bridge to the care networks, groups, activists, you know, in countries and at the regional level. And, you know, that requires representation. So in some ways, you have to think about that. So practically speaking, to be very frank, it will mean that if we identify, you know, who's not represented in the council and who needs to be in this transition phase, it probably will mean identifying one or two three additional actors who have this representation, and it will mean reducing you know, some of the current overrepresentation in the council. So that's a difficult one, but it is one that we have to take. Practically speaking, there is a budget issue. Right now, for this council to operate and so on, we've had to make decision based on the budgets, you know, that USAID identified. And initially, they had seen the council as actually getting smaller. But we've said, look, this is, and they're willing to consider it remaining at the size that it is. But there are budget implications, and they're real right now. Like if somebody's coming, additional people are coming to Kenya, that's a budget. If additional people are coming on the council, that's an additional stipend and an honorarium. These are important consideration. So for the year, for this year, it's important that the council makes decision in terms of its current membership, and that includes recognizing the budgetary limitation and the representation. So, you know, 16 is the number right now. Okay, it's more than was envisaged, but we can probably work with that. But it cannot be 16 and adding more people for the council to be representative. I hope this makes sense, but the other thing I want to emphasize is whether the council needs to have 16 or 12 or 20 or whatever is something that is going to change on depending two things. One, as the council envisage, well, you meaning envisage where you want to be, how representative you want to be, and so on. There will be potentially decision that, you know, 16 is too small or 16 is too big. I don't know what the answer is to that. Whatever the decision, whatever the thinking, it will have financial implication. So these are real, you know, real life boundaries. And so doesn't mean it can't be done, but it means then, you know, funding is going to be found. And it's not just something that comes out of the sky, as you know very well. So we'll have to think about that. So the terms of reference and the discussion that you're having now and in the face-to-face meeting, you know, you are doing it as the current council under the current membership. The face-to-face meeting, if you want to be adding, if we think that it's important to be adding other representation to be at the face-to-face meeting, then we will need to think very clearly about funding and budget. But I would hope that at the face-to-face meeting, you pursue this conversation about representation and ensure that, you know, as you've said yourself, there is a need, there is a lack of representation for some actors. But again, it's not about language. It really is about representation of experience, of context and culture. You know, that's the primary, you know, the primary focus, I would say. I hope I've answered, but you may have some question. Or have I confused? Hopefully not.
Let me come in. I was giving room for someone else, if there is. So there's also the question of, and thanks for clarifying those. I think you have answered. I believe you have. There's a question of we are already, or council members are already doing some work and working quotes now, and So what that means is that it's a little different from the TOR last year, where maybe the meetings that were scheduled were, I think, 4 meetings the entire year. How do we envision taking care of people's time for this one and the new TOR and revising the terms to reflect the additional work? So if you might want to respond to that. Thank you.
This is all a good question. So that's why we wanted you to work on the terms of reference right now, because in some ways it links up to what you're doing right now, and understanding where the expectations are and your role, etc., and your work. So part of what your task is to develop a TOR that reflects where you are currently in this phase. And then that can be amended, and that includes your vision potentially for the future, but it's need to be rooted in terms of what are the tasks, the roles, the work you're going to be doing right now. What are you committing to do in this transition period? So it needs to, by default, for us to be able to determine that, we need to be able to agree on that. The amount of work on the number of meetings and so on is something for you to decide, but it's got to be decided in light of your aspiration, your expectation of yourself as a council, your ability to work and deliver as a council. So yes, the terms of reference need to change in that regard, but you also need to be thinking that you are no longer just an advisory body to USAID. And therefore, your role is changing, and therefore probably your expectations are changing as well. But that's something for you to discuss and agree. One thing that I wanted to propose, because it's a little bit, again, the chicken and egg expression, which is one of my favorite. You are already working as a council members, and you may have questions around the honorarium that's provided. In order to get the honorarium, of course, you have to be a member, you have to commit, you have to sign a letter of agreement, and that's what we're trying to get at. What I was going to suggest as the council, and during the face-to-face meeting, you're going to be deciding how this council is evolving, even for this phase of transition, would be to propose that the current members sign an agreement for this work for the period up to, I was going to say, the face-to-face meeting, and the stipends honorarium is based on that. And then there will be a review of the agreement in light of the discussion you're having. So because some of the members will change, there is no way you can keep adding just members. You need to address the representation. I think it's important to leave space for new members as well when they come in. So we can't just, say, yes, let's agree to all of you having a year's honorarium and stipend, because some of the members will change and there'll be potentially a couple of new members. So that's something that I wanted to just practically, if it makes sense to the members, agree that we write an agreement with you that kind of highlight the work that you're doing for this period, and then that we negotiate, and it's not negotiating really because it's going to be based on your plan and your agreement, but that there is practical steps about what the council will be doing following the face-to-face meeting. That would be a very practical way of solving, and I'd love to hear what you think.
Hola, ¿me escuchan?
Okay. Hello, can you hear me? I am Michael. The name says accept, but it's me, Michael. Thank you, Florence, because I agree with you. I want to say something. I hope you understand it with the good willing that I am delivering. And this happens when we want to consolidate groups, movements, spaces, right? And many times we have the intention of belonging or participating in those spaces. And there's a large group of people, but many times to be willing to participate in those spaces, that does not qualified to be in those spaces because of time, because we are not as consolidated to respond to what those spaces demand. I hope you're understanding me. I don't want to sound like uh, I'm going in another direction, but it's rather the reality. We have a council that represents globally of care leavers, right? And we want that we talk about health, housing, training for work, education opportunities, etc., to have all those policies. There is a document that has been shared and that we're working on that in that platform that was shared. There is a structure that we are building. I consider that we can continue working on that structure. We can consolidate it until we see each other face to face. I think we have advanced in that document. It is a promising document. And it's important to see that structure. What will our roles be? Another thing, and we are 16 right now. I think 3 more people are missing to be 16. And internally, we have to have a meeting as a council. We have to place our hands on our heart and check our abilities, our times in each of our countries, and to have that initiative that we're representing in our country, and to see if we can really participate in the council and represent and respond to what this demands, because we're going to go to large international organizations and we want to be part of those global decision making. UN, I can see, and for that we need to have very solid basis. We need to have information of our countries, and we have to have that commitment and that structure as a council that responds to that. And so I understand the Florence concerns, and in each of these meetings that we're going towards that. We have a brilliant team with so many capability, but we have to decide how all of these brilliant heads in each of the regions is going to really wear the shirt and be part of this council. So I think that we should have write a letter as a member that what are we committing to? And when we have our face-to-face meeting, we can make that letter, update that letter and see where we are. And that we have clear processes. What are the roles? Who can participate? How can they participate? What type of messages? What type of meetings? How will the stipends be for those that are complying with each of the reports that are requested? The actions for the global meetings. And I would think that from my point of view, we need to work on it, because the face-to-face meeting is just around the corner. I hear you, and this was my message.
Thank you, Michael. I don't know whether I'm coming in or I'm not coming in, but thank you, Michael. I think this is really, really inspirational. And, you know, as a supporter, as an ally, and not a member of the council, but also as somebody who's facilitating, I really appreciate the clarity of what you suggest. Would it help, and in following up on my question, would it help if we proposed a very simple letter of agreement for this period of 6 months, more or less 6 months, that literally focus on the current work of the council and the current composition, and links the stipend to that for that period, and then that can be revisited following the face-to-face meeting? That would enable us to ensure that, that would enable you to have some clarity around your roles and responsibility right now, and also give the time for you to be having those conversations around representation, and particularly with the face-to-face meeting to have more intense and in-depth thinking and decision. Would that be a way forward?
I think so. I agree with that.
Are there any concern? I'm quite happy to hear your concern about this approach. If others are concerned or don't agree, that's what this meeting is for.
I think that works. Personally for me, I think if we have a way forward, that I mean, for 6 months and understand how we are going to. Hopefully, some of those things will change once we get to the face-to-face meeting and get to really get some clarification and discuss some of these things out. I'm sure we'll all be either have alignment, complete alignment around what we are doing and where we are headed, or we're on the road to that alignment. So I think many things will change following that face-to-face meeting. And this is all in a good spirit. This is we know, I tell people, we all know we have heart for this work, and we all want to be part of it and want to be able to play a better role, want to be able to add value. So I'm sure whatever is the best, with your capacity we can serve better, I think every day, that's all what matters. So it's just making decision about certain things like this, just a little bit always, it's a change. Change is always never an easy thing. It's very, it can be emotional. So that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. So yeah, but it will happen. And yeah, so I think I'm okay with that.
I see Mai, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm thinking, or I'm suggesting that maybe we give people some time to think about this instead of rushing to a conclusion. Maybe this can be something we decide when we meet face to face. Let's work towards a planning for our meeting, what the goals should be, what we should focus on really, because this council can become an advisory committee for the coming council. So I think pushing people out right now is, for me, it's not a good way to go. But just a suggestion, if you can have some time to think more about it. Thank you.
Totally, you can definitely have some time to have those decisions. Bear in mind the realities, though, that and I know you know this, but the reality is if you're going to be an advisory to a larger group of youth representatives, you need to be thinking about how those youth representatives are going to be involved, how they're going to be supported, and the financial implication for that. Longer term, I think there's a lot of potential, but there's just some reality. And also you've got to think about, again, going back also to the discussion earlier with Asep and other, with Michael and others, is this question of, are you, do you have the mandate to do that as an executive committee? These are all questions for you to think through. But in terms of waiting for the face-to-face meeting, that's fine. What I was trying to do is primarily also clarifies to ensure that you have access to some of the stipend, because you are doing the work right now, and that is recognized. So I didn't want to kind of hold that up to a longer term decision, but it's up to you to make a decision on that. Any follow-up thoughts? I mean, the suggestion is there, and I'm quite happy to wait on.
Yo no quiero que se malinterprete de acuerdo al
I
mensaje.
don't want to be misinterpreted. I'm not saying that we have to kick people out. As I I think that the people that want to belong to the council have to consider seriously about what this council is about. The responsibility that we have, because I talk from my own experience in building a space for a network to be able to be a bridge to facilitate processes for other communities, people, countries. I am talking, and I'll give this example always, that it's a very valid example of the Latin American network, of this American continent, the countries that are in that network, Spanish speakers, that we look for something in common, and that is to improve the transition in care, to transform the care centers. In that network, there is membership per country. Each organization pays a membership to be able to be part of it, and also so that the research can be carried on, to have alliances, and to obtain more donors that will support the work of the network. And for that, we have someone responsible for that. There is a committee, and there are representatives there that have their own agenda. And that requires a logistic and a conscious work, knowing that I have the time to do it, to be able to be part of that space. So that's what I'm talking about. I am convinced that this can work, and that's why I'm here. Or else I would have left. I would have said, I don't have the time. Best wishes, nice experience. But if I'm here and I'm talking about this, it's because I know that there's a potential, we can do it, but we have to take that base that we already have right now and to get that document out and to have that time to do it and not wait for that face-to-face meeting. For the face-to-face meeting, we have to go there with a document that will serve as a base. And what could the projection be? Because that will help us. Because both BCN and USAID can have this panorama of what we want, this picture of how we're going to do it, and how many resources, who are the representatives of this council, and at an international level, and so that we can have alliances, to have who are those that are going to use the regional tables or sub-regional, if we want to call them that way. And I think that we can do it before that face-to-face meeting.
Any thoughts on what Michael has just said?
I agree with Michael. I mean, we already existing, we already there. I mean, if it's not important for me, or I mean, if I'm not willing to join you guys, I don't wasting my time, you know. So I think Michael has raised such a good point, and I love it.
Thanks. No. So we don't have, I mean, it's in your hands. You know, I want to hand over back to Ruth and Nabs as the facilitator, but this question is something that we need to know about, just for the reality of next step. Right now, we are going to be starting the planning for the face-to-face meeting. And part of that is going to be working with you on, well, you're going to be working and we're going to be supporting you to develop the agenda for that meeting. It's going to be an exciting 4 days together, and with a lot of responsibility to use those 4 days and to the maximum, and to come out with some clear vision, but also some clear next steps, some clear thinking about where this council is going, how it's evolving, what it's going to be doing, how it's interacting with the broader community. Again, I just want to really emphasize that the purpose of the transitioning this committee from what was, and that's also what USAID had in mind, as a body that was there to just advise USAID to becoming a body that can advise, influence, advocate, push, whatever it's going to be deciding the broader community. That's why we transition the council to the Transforming Children's Care Collaborative. A large community of over 900 actors now working at different levels. Doesn't mean it's only those people that you're going to be influencing. You've said very clearly you want to be the bridge to the networks, and some of them are on the platform, some of them are not. So again, you're going to be influencing a lot of different actors, but you are, you know, growing, and it's a challenging thing to grow. But it's a huge responsibility, but it's also a huge privilege. And the fact that you are growing and that you are, you know, you're now in a situation where you can develop further and do this thinking is a tribute to the work you've done, all of you, in the last couple of years. It's also a tribute, it's a recognition of the importance of your role, the importance of the leadership of care experience actors coming from all different types of experiences, and it's a real tribute to your work. So I know it's difficult, but it is also a huge opportunity, and it's a huge tribute and recognition of your work. So I hope you see it as that as well. So you know, some of you may need more time to think and discuss, but in relation to the next step, including what Michael has proposed, what CNET has supported, I see also in terms of the stipend and the honorarium, I'm just talking very practically. I recognize you are working right now, and as anyone's working, you know, you can be asking yourself, well, you know, where is the honorarium and so on. So I just want to be very practical. I see there's a few other members who've said they're quite happy with that. We don't need to make a decision now on this. as a group, think about it, discuss it, and then come back to us, if that makes sense.
A mí me gustaría escuchar a Nat y a
I
Ruth.
would like to hear from Naz and Ruth, who have been the leaders. The leaders on the documentations, the ideas that have been given, in order to hear what is the structure of the council, what do they think, how have they seen this exercise from the council? And what do you think is still missing to complete? Maybe what should be the action that actually will take us to the next steps? What do you think about it?
Well, thank you, Michael. And this, you raised relevant points, and then we briefly talk about some of those things you just talked about before joining the call. I'm sorry about the confusion of joining late because of so many meetings you said. But yeah, this is a group decision. And then, of course, just to kind of reinstate our point here, Ruth and I are just facilitators. And this is one of the things about this. When you are dealing with a group, we all know this. It's very, that's why when we get to the face-to-face meeting, we are talking about doing a RACI chat. And my background is organizational psychology and leadership. So I do this organization, helping them get clarity around their mission and vision. And I'll be happy face-to-face meeting to lead, to facilitate a section of that as we are getting to this level. So, but because like there's no like accountability right now, because that's why we're asking people to volunteer. Florence is trying to push it to say, this is everybody's business. Okay, can you volunteer to do this? Can you volunteer to do this? There's not really specific outline to say, 1, 2, 3, you are accountable for this. And you are not responsible to get the job done, but you are accountable. These people are responsible. We don't have that set in place yet. So Ruth and I are just volunteering as facilitators for this meeting. So we cannot make any decision. We cannot lay anybody off. We don't have that right to say, oh, you get out, you go, you stay. No, we cannot. And at some point in time, even we ourselves, we can say, you know what, I've been on the council for 2 years. I'm ready to step aside and I'm ready to provide my experience and things like that. Can be a distant consultant or something to work on that. We'll make our decisions. I think some of these things will happen really. I believe we can have great results from the face-to-face meeting. This can be one of the main agenda items to really talk about the structure of the council. There are other things that are pertinent to this. Naming the council. Currently, the council is named as USAID Care Leader Council. This is not USAID USA Care Leader Council anymore. Do we want to stick with that? Do we want to change the name and become independent body if we really want to do that? There are all those in definition of terms, caregivers, care leaders, and institution, and youth. So all of those things, we are going to really define them so that we all can be on the same page in order to continue to move forward. But as of right now, to kind of meet the demands of BCN and making sense, asking because of budget-wise, one of the things we are thinking about here, Florence, before you join, is these members have been on this council for quite a while for now, and then we are looking at this to be a transition phase, and many things can happen, and the deal has already been done from the beginning. We didn't think about this through a lot of time when we started this whole thing. So for now, we are now transitioning. We might be able to think about extending the grace period and have the face-to-face meeting. And maybe coming from that face-to-face meeting, then when we come back, they are not going to be we're not going to have 16 members on the council. If we have 16 members of the council, we have clear plan in place to make sure we can really justify that. Well, we have 16 members. One, it is the composition is taken into account very seriously, and then the usefulness of each individual on the council is also considered. But for now, from now on to the face-to-face meeting, we are not proposing that we kick anybody off from now on to the council, as we're all, I don't think that's where we are all going to say, okay, you are out, you are out for now, 14 or 12 people before we go to the face-to-face meeting. That's, I don't think doing that now will yield a good result, not yield good fruit right now. If we say we're going to do that, that's not what we're here for. So I think just to be pondering over this and thinking about that, so that we go to that meeting with all our hearts and pour in our hearts and really think about how can we make this possible. So Michael, I hear you all what you are saying. Everything is in place, and I just feel that there are ways we all can be plugged in. We all can still serve on this council. It doesn't mean we have to be active like on the counts of individuals on the council, but we can be able to support the council, because that was the initial arrangement. Many 100 people, over 100 people applied when this came out, and not many people were selected. And we said, those who are not selected, we are still going to be involved in them. How can they still be participating on the council, in ideas and things like that, without them being actively on the council? So that has not been done. So I think this can maybe it could be a wake-up call for say, okay, we're thinking broader here. We're not thinking narrowly. We're thinking broader. How can we involve more people? So I think there are critical questions we'll have to ask ourselves. But for now, I cannot say anything more than that to say, let's go ahead and, lay people off for the council. I think we need time. We need time towards the let's start putting the agenda together for the planning for the face-to-face meeting and see these things out there, I think.
Thank you, Nabs. I see that Bruce.
Gracias, Nab. Muy fuerte lo que dices en términos de que me gusta la forma como lo
That's
dices.
great. I love the way you're saying, the character you are expressing, and I can see your passion in your words. Thank you so much for your words. And I have an idea. I came with an idea to concrete the vision and mission. We have several ideas in the document, but if we want to strengthen this idea, I believe that an important idea is to stand up from which are the current challenges that demand our attention. And from here, we can stand as a council and say, these are the global challenges that need our attention and intervention at this moment. And from these global challenges, we can build the vision and mission. And one of this is reconciliation. What is happening around the world in these terms, and how can we build better communities and to keep a lasting peace? Climate is another thing, one of the global challenges. What actions can we implement as a council to target a responsible management of resources around the planet? That could be an idea. Another, the food insecurity crisis. That is a global challenge as well. And as a council, how can we help to strengthen communities that have very productive ideas related to ecology, and how we can help them to strengthen their capacities from the perspective of education? How can we strengthen access to education? Can we end inequality through education? And the last one, mental health. That's a priority right now. That is a public issue, public health issue. And how can we do that mental health will be a priority and be part of public policies that need attention? And in
Michael,
many countries.
I'm really, really sorry to interrupt you, but the meeting's already run half an hour later, and quite a couple of members and I myself, I have to actually go to other meetings. So we absolutely need to wrap up this meeting. Our interpreters have already been more than generous with their time. I apologize. I think everything you've said needs to be discussed. And I think that's exactly why I'm really excited about the face-to-face meeting. But I would urge you, as you have, and as others have, to continue, put down on paper your vision, your thinking, your plan, your terms of reference for now. And the face-to-face meeting is an opportunity to continue that discussion and to be revised. Whatever you decide, you're talking about where you are now, doesn't determine where you're going to be after the face-to-face meeting. I hope that makes sense. I know that Ruth is still on the call. Ruth, I think you're still there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Florence, and everyone. Thank you so much for your patience this far. It's only fair if we let people go to other meetings. And like I said, I think I would. Is Michael talking? Okay.
No. Chao. Solo me estaba despidiendo. Un abrazo.
No, I was just saying goodbye. Thank you so much for your attention. Have a great time. Bye-bye.
Oh yeah, thank you everyone. I just think that it's important for us to know whether we carry on with the conversation. The next steps are also considering that we do not have a contract. That's what I wanted to say. We do not have a contract. Are we saying we wait for the face-to-face meeting to have a contract? But also I know that members, the reason why they cannot decide is because they're wondering how do we, where do we peg the contract on? And I know that we again need to have the terms of reference. So fair if we give people time to think about it. So if you agree that we can carry on either on WhatsApp group or the platform, and like I said, if you need some orientation around the platform, it's important for the records and storage. Let's take the conversation there. So Nabs or myself would be picking that up, and let us just know all our thoughts around contract and what terms and roles as well. It's okay to compensate people, but we also need to know what are our plans for this year, what activities, what work do we want to do before we even come down to exactly the compensation. Thank you again. I would love to say thank you to you, BCN, and we will communicate again. So byes to everyone, and do enjoy your evenings. For those we are sharing a time zone, and for people in New York and the US, have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye everyone. Sending you love. Bye.
See you too.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Nora and Anna, and apologies that the meeting ran further. I think we're going to have to make them 2 hours.
Yeah.
In effect, they become 2 hours. I have to run, actually. I have another meeting, so I apologize. I think it's on this Zoom as well.
Oh,
so
okay.
I will close the meeting. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Bye-bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Nice to see you all. Bye-bye.
Very nice to see you.